Our speaker today is Wes Benedict. Wes was born and raised in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. He's lived and worked throughout the United States and overseas, but recently moved back to Baton Rouge. He joined the Libertarian Party in 1996. He has run for office 5 times, served as the Travis County LP chair in Texas, and then he became the executive director of the Libertarian Party of Texas, where he made it one of the best performing state Libertarian Party affiliates. In fact, in 2008, he helped to field 173 candidates for office in Texas.
Wow.
Woo. Quite amazing. In 2009, he became the executive director of the National Party, where he served until 2011, and now he's back in that position since 2013, and he's doing a very good job, we all agree. Wes founded the Libertarian Action Super PAC. He co-founded the Libertarian Booster PAC to help promote non-federal libertarian candidates. He is also author of the book Introduction to the Libertarian Party, which is available on Amazon and at other retailers. And we are lucky to have him on our side, and we're lucky to have him with us today. Ladies and gentlemen, Wes Benedict.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, and welcome to the 2014 Libertarian Party of Illinois Convention. It's great to be here as one of your guests. I'm a libertarian because I believe in small government. I think we need a much smaller government than we have today. I believe in economic freedom. I want lower taxes, less regulation. I don't want the government picking winners or losers, subsidizing one business and taxing another. I also support freedom on the personal side. I support civil liberties. I'm against the Patriot Act. I don't think we should have the government spying on us. If 2 people want to get married, I don't think the government should get involved. If gay people want to get married, it should have nothing to do with the government. I don't want the government telling us how to live our lives. If people want to do anything, as long as they're not hurting someone else, they should be able to do that. So I'm a libertarian. I'm active with the Libertarian Party because I think that's the best way for me to make a difference in the world. I used to stay up late night after night arguing with the same old friends about politics. The later it got, the drunker we got, the louder we got, and we yelled and yelled and debated and debated. The one thing we absolutely never did was change each other's minds. And I thought, I'm a smart guy. I've spent years and years arguing with the same friends. I want to change the world, but I can't even change one person's mind. They're certainly not changing my mind either. I've got to find a faster way to change the world. I thought I had the answers to everything. Finally, one day it was actually at the beginning of working on an MBA at the University of Michigan. I'm a Wolverine. It was just the beginning of that time, and I was walking across campus. I think it was even the first day of classes, and came across a guy saying, "Hey, do you want to take the world's smallest political quiz?" And I knew I liked arguing with everybody about politics, so I jumped on that opportunity right away. It had been just a few days before that I think I'd actually heard of the Libertarian Party. The internet was just starting to get big. You were just starting to find everything there. This is 1996. I mean, I know the internet had been there for a while, but it was just becoming something that we use all the time. I saw the party, looked briefly, but didn't do much. I was a little curious, had things to do. I took this quiz, scored fully in the libertarian zone. I wasn't a perfect libertarian, but I was way up in that zone. That had me very interested. And the guy who was standing there, James Hudler, he has been a libertarian activist for many years, and to me, he's my first libertarian hero. He was there on campus, working all by himself, probably done that for years. I know he's done lots of activism for many years since then. And if he hadn't been there, I might have gotten involved with something else, maybe been a useless hobby or something, but I might not have gotten involved with the Libertarian Party. So, it's people like that who are out there day after day helping to recruit others that to me are the heroes of the Libertarian Party. So when I first joined the party, after finding it in Michigan, I was interested, but I still didn't know how to be an activist yet. I didn't know what to work on. I started getting the newsletters. I paid the $25 or I think it was $35 dues for the state and national party then. Started getting LP news in the mail, finding out about Harry Brown. I kind of liked what he said. I was impressed with the things he said. I learned a lot from him. I actually signed up for a $30 per month monthly pledge to the national party. I was a full-time graduate student taking out student loans, but I was so excited to finally have found people who agreed on a lot of things with me. I was ready to get active with the party. I used to, there's like one or two articles in the newspaper that were kind of freedom-oriented, or like if you got U.S. News and World Report, back when those magazines like that actually existed in print, there'd be maybe one article in all these that would talk about freedom. I finally find the Libertarian Party, there's a lot of stuff there. I'd kind of heard of the Cato Institute, but not much, and so I looked into them. Oh, it's a Libertarian Cato Institute, and they have all this stuff. Wow, I don't have to write it all myself. I don't have to think about all this and invent it all. There's actually scholars out there who are all together publicizing a lot of this information, publishing it. I actually donated $500 to the Cato Institute. I was so excited, and right away I started getting all this mail. These 30-page reports talking all about privatizing Social Security, which I thought was a great idea. Social Security's costing so much money. It's a pyramid scheme. I know all that. They're saying it. I'm glad someone's saying it. They have some other plans. And a few days would go by and I'd get another 30-page report on foreign policy, maybe another 30-page report on Social Security again, then magazines about regulation, and I'm reading all of them and getting more and more 30-page publications. Meanwhile, I'm supposed to be working on my graduate degree, and I'm enjoying reading all this. And again, I came to the realization, and I liked what I was reading, but I can read, all these reports. I can be the most expert on Social Security and everything else out there, and do that for 100 years, and then I'll die. And then what did I do other than learn a lot of stuff and then die? I still haven't done anything. So I didn't feel like I was yet being useful. I certainly learned a lot more because I'd read all this other stuff, but hadn't read so much libertarian stuff. Certainly foreign policy was something that my eyes were opened. I started looking at everything from a new direction when I started hearing Harry Brown's arguments against a lot of the wars, both any upcoming plus recent ones and recent past efforts. So I learned a lot, but I wasn't quite ready to... I realized, again, after reading all that stuff, what am I doing? I mean, I've donated some money so other people can write some stuff, and I've argued with some more friends still, and you can't stop that. That's what you do in college, is you stay up even later and argue even louder, and the neighbors don't mind because you're students. So eventually I graduated from the Michigan program, got a job in the Atlanta area, and moved there, and had this new job, had a little extra time at the beginning as well, and I decided it's time for me to stop just reading stuff. And I think I actually, that summer, this was the summer between school and the job, actually went to Mexico for a while. I read Atlas Shrugged. I grew up as a math and science guy, not a reading, literature, English, all that stuff. I didn't like it. And so to voluntarily read a long book of fiction was a new thing for me, especially like a 700-page book or whatever. I enjoyed reading it, but again, that was just reading, and it was stuff it was interesting. It changed my views on a few things, but a lot of it I was already in line with. So I'm finally getting a job, and I felt like I'd been reasonably successful in past jobs, and so if I want to, I need to really think about what can I do that's useful. So let me go to a Libertarian Party meeting, find these other libertarians, and find some way that I can be useful. So I don't remember how I found it. Maybe it was in a newsletter or something, but I found the Cobb County, Georgia Libertarian meeting that was upcoming. Probably it was a Tuesday or Monday night, I don't remember. I go to the meeting, and there's two guys there. Two, no offense, two old bald-headed men, you know. And nothing against bald-headed people. And I'm thinking, okay, this is making me a little nervous. We talk a little while. They're polite, pleasant. I'm kind of sometimes pleasant, sometimes I'm a know-it-all. You know, somebody who just got an MBA that pretty much knows everything there is to know. And I knew we needed to do something. And they talked. They said they had been there about 5 years, and it's usually two people. The two of them. Sometimes there's a third guy that showed up, and I'm like, five years of that. You know, that's nothing's happening. And I'm like, we got to do something. We got to do something. We got to make something happen. I started getting mad at these guys. You know, I want to shake them. Let's go. We got to go door to door. Let's do something. You know, what can I do? Give me something to do. Can we go put some brochures out or something? I wanted a brochure that talked about the Libertarian Party, libertarianism. I knew the issues. I liked them. I agreed with them. I liked the world's smallest political quiz. I thought that was fun to take. It impacted me, and I'd given that to other people. But you could give that to someone, and it didn't tell them what to do next. You know, it said go to their website or something, but it didn't say what to do next. It didn't say come to the Cobb County meeting Monday night at 7 p.m. You know, take this quiz if you're a libertarian. Come to the meeting, and here's what we'll have you do. I wanted to get something done, and there was a lack of literature in the party that did what I thought needed to be done. So I designed my own brochure. I first called it Libertarian Cheat Sheet because I was used to school, you know, and you put everything you need to know on one sheet, and that's what I needed for the libertarianism. And, you know, here's the issues, here's 10 people running for office, here's the quiz, and here's where you can go to a meeting in the Cobb County area. Maybe I listed some of the Atlanta area meetings as well. And I knew as soon as I went and put up about 200 of those, the party would just start taking off. You know, maybe I'll start getting all these calls at home harassing me, the news will call or whatever, you know, because this big thing's taking off. And I put up a couple hundred of those and was real excited. Called the LP Georgia office and say, so how many have joined now? I put 200 of those up in all these apartment complexes. And, you know, they're like, well, I don't... And they knew what I was talking about because I'd showed them a copy. Let's do it. We're going to change, you know, let's do it. We're doing it. Well, I don't think anybody joined. You know, we haven't gotten any of those. And it was hard to believe at first, but it was true. I don't think they were lying to me. They had no reason to lie to me, and others would have told me. So, you know, I think it might have helped a little bit to advertise the party, but it wasn't necessarily effective. But the point was I wanted to get something done, and I didn't feel like these guys were getting anything done, and I almost, you know, wanted to strangle them and just tell them to get out of there and rip their heads off, you know, get out of here so I can do this and make this happen. And if I'd done that, that wouldn't have helped. After trying a couple things that didn't change the world overnight like I had hoped for and expected and thoroughly knew I could make happen as a person with an MBA who knows everything, I started listening to these guys, and they gave me some suggestions. They said, hey, you know, we used to do these booths at an art show, and we'd bring the quiz, and we'd hand out stuff, and people enjoyed it, and we'd go to gun shows and do this, and I'm like, okay, maybe we can do that. You know, what I'm doing is it's not really fun to do all by yourself, and it's not obviously making everything happen. And oh, by the way, I had been on the University of Michigan campus and found out about the party that same way by some guys doing a booth. And so I started listening to these guys. You know, to me, they weren't doing enough for my taste, but they were there, and they convinced me to do some booths, and they told me the Marietta gun shows coming up here and there, and we can sign up for those and do them once a month. And I was happy to do it. I started doing them, and they helped. They worked. Everything wasn't happening as fast as I liked, but I was now going to events and talking to people about the Libertarian Party, reaching out and making a small difference. And I felt like I was doing something useful. I also got asked a lot of the same questions that everyone gets asked, but you get better and better at that the more you do it. Public speaking was terrifying to me. Even talking to strangers was terrifying to me. It still is in many ways. But when you've done it a lot on a subject that you're familiar with, it starts getting a lot easier. And so here I am in conservative Cobb County, Georgia, with these other experienced libertarians, and people come up, well, have you heard of Neil Bortz? And I was new there, and I hadn't really heard about him. And so these other libertarians can explain, okay, Neil Bortz is this way, he believes libertarians this way. He's a radio. I didn't even know who he was when I got there, and I wouldn't have been that useful at a booth where everyone knows who Neil Bortz is, or a lot of people do, and I don't even know who the guy is. It's conservative Cobb County, Georgia. That's the conservative part of Atlanta, the Atlanta area, and a lot of people are asking about abortion and things that I wasn't comfortable saying what the libertarian position was or wasn't, or dodging the question, or whatever the case was going to be. I wasn't comfortable answering these tough questions, or when people attacked us, oh, y'all are hopeless, or voting doesn't matter anymore because it's all controlled, don't even bother, this and that's taking control of everything. You can't stop it. There's not even going to be another election. All this stuff. I never heard all this stuff. Didn't know how to answer these questions. And so these other experienced libertarians, those two bald-headed men who I called, I kind of made fun of a lot in the beginning, actually did a lot to help me become a much better activist. And I'll tell you a little bit more about it, but that book that you mentioned, The Introduction to the Libertarian Party, I actually mentioned those two guys in there. One of them's name is Garrett Hayes. He ran for governor a couple times in Georgia, did a really good job. The other was Nelson Barnhouse, and he wrote me an email several months ago saying, hey, I enjoyed that part in your book where you talked about the two old surly men at that first meeting. That was funny. Can I buy 5 copies? And so he donated, and I shipped him some copies. I like to recognize those early people who helped me get involved, because I encourage people to run for office and do all sorts of things, but certainly doing any type of outreach activity, in booth or whatever, even radio shows, podcasts, things on Facebook, all of that makes an impact and helps recruit other people into the party. And so I encourage you to keep doing any of that. That's the kind of thing I've been doing whenever I get a chance. One second. I found out a lot, not just about the Libertarian Party, but all these other organizations like Cato, Advocates for Self-Government, that have a lot to do with the Libertarian movement. To me, it is a struggle to grow the Libertarian Party, but when you do things that work, it does grow, and I encourage people to keep doing that. Republicans and Democrats get in office and grow government. They're not lowering our taxes. They never do. They don't respect our civil liberties. Obama talked about being against the war. That's not what he's done. Now that he's in office, he's about to expand more wars. Sometimes people criticize me, and I know they do other people, and libertarians will come up and say, hey, are we doing enough? We're not winning enough elections. Maybe we should just all do something useful, like helping the Cato Institute. And they certainly say that in the Washington, D.C. area. Lots of times people will say, hey, why don't you, y'all keep losing elections. Your president got 1%, Gary Johnson. I was like, well, that's double ever. You got 0.5% before. They got a 1% this time. That's growth. Well, why don't you, that's not winning. Why don't you do something like work for a respectable organization like the Cato Institute? And again, I go back to those multiple reports that I used to read. It's not a, I like the Cato Institute, but it's not, I'm not a PhD, I'm not a professor. They don't want me there writing policy papers. And you know, I think we have a major impact on public policy just by running for office, whether we get 1%, 0.5%, 30%. Of course, if we win, we have a bigger impact. But we have an impact no matter what percent we get. When we run, we advance our issues. And to something like the Cato Institute, again, who I support, if running for office as a libertarian in Lucin is a waste of time, well then the Cato Institute has published more policy papers than any other libertarian effort in the world that have not been implemented. Now, I want them to succeed. I want Cato's policies to be implemented. I want the Cato Handbook for Congress to be adopted by congressmen, but it hasn't been. And so if libertarians and some of these snooty, highfalutin organizations like Cato Institute are going to look down on me and tell me I'm wasting my time, well then I'm going to tell them, hey, if I'm wasting my time, maybe you're wasting your time publishing papers that people don't read and that are not getting implemented. But that's not the case. I think it's useful what the Libertarian Party does, win or lose every election. I think it's useful what the Cato Institute does, whether or not all of their policies get adopted. I think we're having an impact in a lot of areas now that are changing. It's not all the areas I'd like to see change, but marijuana is now legal in a few states, and a lot of states are making it medical marijuana. They're decriminalizing it. We're making progress in that area. Now, it used to be something I'd say, I'm a libertarian, and everybody'd laugh, you know, the marijuana guys, you want to, and then that was real funny. People giggle every time you talk about the war on drugs or legalizing marijuana. They still do that some today, but we're winning. We're winning. We're changing the world on that issue. Gay marriage was unheard of anywhere, even just 10 years ago, even though things were getting a lot more liberal in a lot of ways. And now gay marriage is becoming legal in a lot of states. Now, of course, we want to totally get the government out of marriage, but while it's involved, we want it to treat everyone equally. And things that some of us were embarrassed to stand up and support because people would laugh at us now are becoming adopted. And I do think it is because a lot of it's being adopted because of the effort of the Libertarian Party and Libertarian candidates. Now, it's not just because of us. There's other organizations that work on these issues. But Libertarian Party candidates have a big voice in this, and we reach people on the left and the right. The Republicans and Democrats hate each other so much. They hate each other's guts that they can't hear each other. They can't hear even logic. Even if they're speaking logically to each other, there's so much hate that they can't hear from each other. But when a libertarian says, we're for smaller government, we want less government, and a Republican says, well, yeah, I'm kind of for that. And then we explain how, and since I'm for less government and lower taxes and lower spending, I want to end the war on drugs. And by ending the war on drugs, we'll need less tax money to build jails. We'll have fewer jails, less tax money spent. A Republican can kind of relate to that. I mean, they still hate those liberal hippie drug users, but you know, the tax argument works for them. The Democrats wouldn't necessarily make that tax argument, and if they did, the Republicans wouldn't listen to it. So we explain to Republicans that ending the war on drugs lowers taxes, lowers spending, makes government smaller. They can kind of understand that. I think we've softened Republicans up a lot on this drug issue. You know, even Rick Perry, who I love making fun of and bashing because I was in his state for many years, Texas, you know, he said we need to look at ways, alternatives to long-term incarceration for drug use. You know, I'd like to hear him say that. They used to brag about how long they'd keep people in jail in Texas and brag about how many people they got to execute in Texas. You know, we lead the world in executions right there in Texas. Now, Louisiana's making progress in there. They're talking about this stuff. Bad progress and good progress. They still execute a lot of people in Louisiana. And Louisiana, I was born there, sorry, that's where I lived for a while. I get to make fun of it all I want. It's one of the poorest nations in the country. I'm sorry, poorest states in the country. Nationwide, we have more people in jail than most of the rest of the world. So America is the highest in the world, one of the highest in the world, if not the highest, and then Louisiana is the highest in America. We're throwing people in jail in Louisiana more than anywhere else. It's insane. It's stupid. It's a waste of money. Things are very corrupt. I know you're corrupt in Chicago and all that stuff. Everyone brags about who's the most corrupt. I think per capita, you know, if you look at percent of state spending that's corrupt and percent of officials in jail, I bet Louisiana would beat Illinois. You know, and I know a lot of states brag about how corrupt they are. Michigan does, but Pennsylvania, of course. I do think Louisiana has you beat. And when you look at actual figures, facts, Louisiana is terrible, especially on this drug issue, executions, putting people in jail. And it's just you know, it's one thing for, you know, you just imagine these stereotypes of Hickston, Louisiana. Hey, we're locking that guy away. You know, they do that, and it's disgusting. And their friends make a lot of money off building the jails and operating them. It really is. It's very unjust, and the Libertarian Party is making a difference. When I just moved back to Louisiana at the end of 2011. I had moved because I was getting married to someone from Baton Rouge, where I grew up. And I left the Libertarian Party headquarters, set up a PAC and worked on some Libertarian things there. But there was a couple of stations that would call me because they knew the Libertarians would speak out on the drug issue. And I didn't even have to go to them. I'm like, well, you know, I'm busy. Can you come to my office and bring your camera? And they would come to me and get me to say something about the drug issue. And then you could tell the reporter was on our side also, because they would find somebody against it, and you'd look at the news story, and the guy against it sounded like a ranting lunatic. You know, we're gonna throw these people in jail. And there I was. I'd put on my coat and tie and sound all professional and try and sound intelligent for Louisiana. And we got that message out because I helped get it out because I was a Libertarian. They found me because they found the Libertarian Party and found my contact on some of those websites out there. Louisiana's softening up. There wasn't a lot of Libertarian Party activism there, but just by encouraging people to do stuff, a lot of Libertarians have started organizing in Louisiana, and things are taking off there. There's a new executive director, Wendy Adams, who a few of us said, you know, let's hire her because we don't have time to do all this stuff, and see what she can do. She was a major Ron Paul organizer in Louisiana, making all sorts of things happen, and the Republican Party of Louisiana did all of these things to undermine them, to cheat them. They even beat up some guy he had won the chairmanship of, I think this is true facts, you'll have to double check this, but he won the chairmanship in an election for the Republican Party of Louisiana, and they just said no. They kind of changed the rules, the rest of the old-timers here, the committee, and said, no, you didn't really win. That wasn't a valid election. Get him out of here. They called the police, and he ended up getting injured and had to be taken away. And I think he got arrested as well. And it's like, you see all these Ron Paul supporters seeing how the Republican Party treats them, and quite a few of those joined the Libertarian Party in Louisiana. Those are the ones making big stuff happen. A lot of them are new, making a lot of new stuff happen. And I didn't do much other than encourage them. I tried to coach them the way those two old bald surly men coached me when I was there trying to get stuff done. I said, hey, you know, do some things. Especially recruit some candidates. If you got some candidates to run for office, you got something for people to work on. You know, boosts and things are nice, but it's really helpful to have candidates to rally around and support. Hang just a second. After being pretty active in Georgia, and again, I went to the first couple of meetings. There was about 2 people, 3 people. They asked me to be county chair after I'd done some boosts and things, and you know, I was still pretty motivated. And I said, okay. I served as county chair, and all I did was it didn't dawn on me that there was a list of Libertarian Party members in Cobb County right away. It just kind of, oh yeah, that makes sense. There's members, I'm a member of the party. There's probably someone has a list of members in Georgia and in Cobb County. They did, of course. They gave me the list, and I just started picking up the phone and calling a few of them. And I would ask them for their email address, and I'd ask them if I could send them an email. And back then we weren't getting zillions of spam every day on everything. Email was used some, but it wasn't to the extent it is today. And I just started inviting people to the meeting. That's all I did. Hello. And I hate picking up the phone and calling. Now it's not so bad, but then to me it was just a frightful thing to do. I'm not an outgoing person most of the time. But you just pick the phone up, dial the numbers, hello, hi, I'm a Libertarian. I'm the chair in Cobb County. Will you come to we're having a meeting Monday. Would you come? We'd like you to come to it at 7 p.m. Here's the address. And they started showing up. Just simple call like that. People started showing up. I'd send an email. They start showing up. That's how you get a county organization going. You go month after month. You invite people to show up, and they will. Pick up the phone and call them. Quick show of hands for me. Who has been a county chair before? Okay. Anybody recently? There's some guys recently starting up a chapter. Who's that? Okay. You starting up a new one?
In Lake County.
Okay. It's not always easy to get something going. You got to go month after month and don't stop showing up, even if you're the one guy that shows up. If you'll keep showing up, eventually a few others might show up. Even one guy who'll do a lot of work instead of just show up and tell you what to do. So keep it going. How many candidates here? Who's run for office ever? And I'm familiar with the current ones. So I do hope a lot more of you will consider running in the future. It's a lot of work. And in 2000, so after being in Georgia, I moved to Austin, Texas. Had a small business for a few years that we sold, and so I had a little extra money, a little spending money, a little time on my hands, and I had run for office once for county commissioner. It was a pretty low budget campaign. I spent maybe $600 on it. I didn't do much, but it was. I knew the party wanted candidates, and I saw what others were doing. They got some media. I got a little bit of media, and that was my first foray. After selling that business, I actually wanted to learn more about campaigning for real, and so I volunteered for a guy running for mayor as an independent. And I knew he wasn't. He was more like a progressive guy. I knew he wasn't a real libertarian, and I wanted to volunteer. And this was a situation where a campaign and a candidate didn't have enough stuff for me to do. I actually had time. I want to work 7 days a week. I want to make you win, just so I get some credit for it. Plus, so I can learn how to do this stuff. Like the big campaigns do. And they didn't have enough for me to do right away. So I decided, well, instead of helping him, I'm going to run for city council myself, Austin City Council. I enjoyed the county commissioner thing. I was scary as could be at the beginning, but after doing some events, I kind of got in the groove, and I ran for Austin City Council. I actually went to about 40 public events, and you start getting the same questions everywhere. A lot of them I didn't want to answer because they're irrelevant. It's like, what are you going to do to bring in more money for the arts? Well, our taxes are too high. I want to, that's not what I want to do. I want to prevent this light rail thing that's going to cost $2 billion and cost $20 per mile to move someone when buses only cost 50 cents. So I would change the subject all the time because they're always asking, how am I going to do this to add more money? I got good at answering questions or not answering the question or dodging the question or redirecting it. And I reached a lot of people. Events like this, if you want to have a barbecue at your house and get libertarians out, or you want to do something and introduce folks to the party, it's a lot of work to put a meeting together, invite people out. But if you run for office, you don't have to put the thing together. They invite, sometimes you do. You'll have your own barbecue or something, but you get invited to all these events. So now, instead of having to organize the event and beg people to show up, they organize an event. All you have to do is show up and put your libertarian agenda right out there to them. I learned that running for city council, and at that point I'm hooked. Libertarian Party is a great thing. We just need to do a lot more of this. But 2004, the Libertarian Party of Texas had been kicked off the ballot. We didn't get a high enough percentage in one of the statewide races, and so we were faced with a petition drive. And that everyone talked about how terrible that was and how daunting it was going to be. And I kind of figured it was bad, but I didn't do much with the state party. I was a local activist. I didn't care. The state was just whatever, a bunch of talking people, probably wasting our money, wasting our time. And petition drives, it can't be that hard. I got a few hundred signatures for my city council race to get on the ballot, and it's easy. You need 45,000 signatures. You just there's 254 counties in Texas, so just get each county to get 1,000 signatures, and if they don't all do it, that's okay. We just need 80,000 signatures. We just need 80 counties to do it. Piece of cake. And I'll get a few thousand myself, and we'll get a bunch of other volunteers to do stuff. And they were talking about raising money and hiring petitioners and all this stuff, and I didn't know anything about raising money. Like the 2 times I ran for office, I just spent my own money. I didn't like asking people for $100. That made me uneasy. And I didn't know, writing a fundraising letter. I'd never written any fundraising letter. I didn't want to do that stuff. And plus, I wasn't working. I didn't need to work. I had plenty of money in the bank for a few years. And I'm like, I'm going to do this with volunteers. We're going to knock this thing out. And whatever, let them go raise their money and waste their money, whatever, waste their time. That's okay. I'm going to do this. I'm going to get these volunteers. And so I started planning for all that. It's easy, right? These petitions. Boy, was I in for a big lesson. First of all, you email everyone, you find out half their emails are no good. Hey, I learned that fast. I emailed our 70 county chairs, and half the emails were actually bad. Our state party had kind of fallen down pretty badly. It was pretty sad because it was one of a real good state before that, and they just had a real rough period. Picked up the phone, called these county chairs. Phones aren't any good. A few people answer. Most of them are very, very depressing to talk to on the phone. It's like, hey, this is Wes. Hello, Dallas, big city, right? Dallas. They got a TV show named after it. And if Austin can do something, Dallas can do it twice as big for sure. I don't remember if I could even get a hold of anyone there. But, a lot of our county chairs, you just get them on the phone. Hey, I don't know. Nah, I'm busy. We do 1,000 signatures. No, we don't have anyone. They'll do that. And you learn real fast how hard it is to get people to do stuff, to get signatures. I actually started traveling the state and recruiting people, and I had some success. And I was training them. I was learning myself. The first thing is, where do I do this? You get the paper, you got your pen. Now, where can I do this? And I started at University of Texas because students are libertarian. And after about a day, we were kicked off campus. And you can't do it. Sorry. And the police come out and get you. They don't. You can get away with it for a while, but if you push it, they're out watching to get you as soon as you show up. So that's hard, just finding a place you can petition. Do it at grocery stores, right? Everybody does that, and it's like you find out, I haven't seen petitioners at groceries anymore. No one's doing it. Why is it? All the grocery stores quit letting you, almost all of them, in Texas. Now maybe in Austin, Texas. Whole Foods, they actually let us do it some days, but even they don't allow it anywhere now. And you start to get shocked. It's like, wow, I want to find people, and everywhere I try and find them, you can't go there. And I guess private property rights, I guess some of that's okay, But even the public places, I can't go in a park. All I can do is walk down the sidewalk, and that works in a few major metro areas, but everyone doesn't live in a metro area, and so it starts to get, and so now I'm supposed to tell everyone else where to petition. Not only do I have to find a place I can do it myself, I'm supposed to train these other people, and I don't know how, and so I worked hard on that. We got some volunteers to do stuff. To make a long story short, well, that's too late. But of our 45,000 signatures, I think we got 10,000, I'm sorry, of 80,000 total that we had to get. We got about 10,000 volunteer signatures. And that was hard work to get those. And I did about 700 myself. And I probably could have gotten 8,000 or 10,000 just doing it myself, quicker than the way I was doing it by trying to get these people to do, let me meet you there. Okay, I'll go out and we get 4 signatures. I drive to Dallas. Okay, now you know how to do it. Now just go to the light rail thing. And they wouldn't show up because they got told no. And, they get depressed real fast. And so I did learn the value of paid petitioners in many instances. I actually switched over my focus a lot of the time to paying petitioners. And I still wasn't willing to raise money, but I did have money, and I paid my own expenses all that time, going around the state, paid my gas, stayed in some motel rooms, paid for that out of pocket. I actually started paying petitioners to get signatures. I'm like, I'm an MBA, right? I know everything and gonna succeed so whatever. And here I am. I got some money. If I'm not making it happen, I got no excuse. And of course, we don't want to pay much for these signatures. You pay as little as you can, and so we start paying 50 cents and 75 cents per signature, and I find myself writing $2.25 checks, and meeting people to write a $2.25 or $3 check, and it's taken so much time, and I'm like, I should just go get a job, anywhere. I get a $10 an hour job and just pay someone else to do this. It'd be faster than me spending half an hour to write a $3 check for somebody who agree. They're going to go out and get them. Yeah, I'll do it for 50 cents. I'll do it for 75 cents. And they're just not delivering. At the end of that petition drive, I had actually written 700 checks. I counted them. I mean, I had the carbon copies of them all. 700 checks. And even just writing 700 checks takes a long time. It was insane. And towards the end, we're like, yeah, the $2 guy. Let's just work with him. I know you'll do it for 50 cents. I don't have time to watch you fail doing this for 50 cents. Now, not everyone fails. Some get them for 50 cents. Some get them for 75 cents. Quite a few people went out and got 300 signatures, volunteers. And everyone helped. That was less money someone else had to raise. There was actually a point where I had written checks for $30,000 out of my personal checking account, and I was nervous about that. And I could afford it briefly, but I didn't want to do it, and I was kind of hoping the party would pay me back. They kind of said they would, but we had bylaws against going in debt, and I was just, it was a risk. But again, I felt so confident I could make this happen. I wasn't just going to fail after wasting months of my life, on this thing. And in the end, we did succeed. We got 80,000 signatures. We needed 45,000 valid signatures. Maybe they found like 50,000 were valid, a little over that. And I ended up getting paid back most of that 30,000 that I'd loaned the party. I wasn't counting on it. I was hoping for it. I figured 75% chance I'd get it back. But there was no one had to pay me. And by the way, I didn't know if all that was legal. Can you just spend money on stuff? Politics? I don't know. We didn't know for sure. You ask somebody, Libertarians lie to you half the time what the rules are. So anyway, here's the LP Illinois, and I'm used to all that drama in Texas. Petitioning was just the craziest thing. It wasn't just me that thought it was an insane process and just more trauma than we could ever imagine. Everyone thought that. It's like, this is crazy. And so I'm seeing LP Illinois, and it was a piece of cake. I mean, right? Lex, to me, I don't know all this stuff. Lex Green, to me, is one of my LP Illinois heroes, because I'm serious. Yeah, he just sent me an email. Oh, we got 8,000 signatures. Send $16,000, whatever. I'm like, we just write the check. That's it. No no drama. We're not all insane. We're not stupid. This petitioner is shooting this one, and Bill Redpath said this and that, and blah, blah, blah. It's just, he just sent an email with a number on it that made sense. We'd send a check, and it was like, okay, I know, you had armed thugs showing up at the petition signers. That was an issue. But seriously, and they keep filing lawsuits to kick y'all off, and there's another one now. But I mean, from my perspective, this petition drive was a piece of cake, and and I give y'all credit for making it happen. Real quick, Diana Bisick.
The reason it was a piece of cake is because Crystal Jarzynski had done it for 2 election rounds before Lex stepped in, and she had worked the kinks out and had a fantastic system. So we already had. I mean, Lex was lucky. He was not lucky this time, but he's now done it twice, and he at least had Crystal's efforts to build on. So we pride ourselves actually in being more organized than any of the other states who go to the LNC for money.
Yeah, well, I figured he probably didn't do it all by himself. So a lot of people, I found his wife did a lot. I know that. Yeah, but there are other states that the National Party helps with ballot access, and a lot of the times it's hell on us. It's not just the money it costs. It's all the crazy phone calls, the indecipherable emails. We gave this guy $50, but so-and-so is going to give him $25 for this, and his hotel was going to be covered for this. We don't have a receipt. Is that okay? And I think he's in North Dakota. He won't answer his phone anymore, and I don't know if someone paid him. I mean, that's typically how it goes. That's how it is with a lot of other states. And so I'm like, let's do Illinois every election season. So my background is in engineering and business. I wasn't a philosophy major, history major, politics, that kind of thing. My expertise, and I worked in manufacturing a lot. I feel like my expertise is productivity and efficiency. That's what you do in a manufacturing plant. You want to get more stuff done. You want to lower the costs and get the quality up. And to do that, you eliminate steps. You try and eliminate waste. You try and do things as efficiently as possible. And that's, I apply those concepts where I can to the Libertarian Party. So I'm not the best philosopher on policies and all of that. There's a lot of people that can do that, but I try and focus on doing things efficiently. And to do things efficiently, sometimes you got to try them and you learn, just like I did with the petitioning. I learned what doesn't work, and you start learning what does work. But then when you learn what does work, then you learn how to try and do that quickly and efficiently. And that's what I did. That's what I feel like my strategy was when I was hired as the executive director of the Libertarian Party of Texas. I felt like we got the biggest bang for the buck by running candidates for office. And, a candidate gets out there and instead of just being another protester at a Tea Party event or an anti-war event, if you're a candidate for office, now your voice is amplified 10,000 times. Now you're on television, not as much as we'd like, but you're on there sometimes. You're in the newspaper sometimes. You're spreading the libertarian philosophy by running for office, and you're helping to build for future elections and future wins by running for office. That's where we get a big bang for the buck. The strategic advantage that our party has over other organizations is we have this ballot access. We get to get the Libertarian Party message out because we have Libertarian Party ballot access in Illinois. If the Constitution or Green Party had access, they'd get theirs more out. We have it, so we get our views out there more. If other organizations had ballot access, a lot of them would use that. So, they would get their message out. They wouldn't be joining other things. So we do have an advantage by having this ballot access in so many states throughout the country. And I think we get a big bang for the buck by running candidates for office, and that's where we need to focus. I focused on doing that efficiently in Texas, and anyone who's been in manufacturing and other service industries as well, when you do things real fast, sometimes the quality degrades. And I'll confess, sometimes the quality degraded in Texas when we were just cranking out these candidates like an assembly line. But that was my process. I want to get as many candidates as possible. And again, that's not everyone's strategy. It might not be the best strategy. Whatever you want to do, if you focus on that and then do as much as you can, as efficiently as possible, you can make a lot happen. I focus on I made the paperwork easy for the candidates. They didn't all have to learn the rules. Just like when you get a credit card application, you are pre-approved. Sign in here and you'll get $5,000 credit. You don't have to write your name, address, all that stuff, occupation, whatever. That's how I recruited lots of candidates. I mailed them a pre-filled out form because they donate. They already give us their occupation and employer. I filled out the form for them. I told them what district they're in. You're in state representative district 50, and it's already on your application. I filled out it's all mail merged on there. And I just tell them, all you have to do, sign here, get it notarized, mail it back, you'll be a candidate. Now I admit, you get some bad candidates that way, but you get a lot of good candidates as well. There are a lot of very smart, good, intelligent people who make great candidates who are busy because they have jobs, families, whatever, and they would do it. They just don't want to sit down and read another form. Filling out your taxes, that's a pain. There's so much paperwork in life that's a pain, insurance documents, whatever. They don't want to sit and do another document. So when you do it for them, you've taken that work off their plate. Now they can just do a few fun things. Show up, have events, go to debates, talk about, set up a website, that kind of stuff. That's how I focus on making it as easy as possible, help them with the paperwork, send them notices before the filing deadlines so they didn't, in Texas, everyone has to file campaign finance reports, except for if you run for Congress, if you're under a certain level, you don't. But all these other candidates had to file them, and that's a nightmare, but it's very easy if someone tells you exactly what to do. And that's what we focused on, and that's been my goal. But again, I think that's been my strategy, I'd say, is to help a lot of candidates run. I think we get our biggest bang that way. Not everyone's willing to run for office. I understand that. But some of you help candidates. That's a great thing. We need treasurers, people to assist people with their campaigns, people who can set up websites. Evan McMahon, who just walked out a few minutes ago, he's an example of a guy who helps other candidates run better campaigns. Anything you can do to help recruit candidates, encourage them, donate to their campaigns. Our national headquarters office, we have a couple of people who help to the degree that they can. Carla Howe, our political director, gives a lot of advice to individual candidates on messaging, how to make their campaign more effective. All of that helps. It's very important for us to keep up our efforts. I only have a few more minutes here, so I'll try to wrap it up. Can I have about 5 still? Okay. I think running for office is the most important thing to do. I think winning elections is great. I didn't know of the 200 candidates in Texas who's going to win. It's hard to know. A lot of people will tell you they're going to, and so just by getting a whole bunch of people to run, we would start finding people win. It wasn't me. I didn't make them win, but I think that I helped them agree to run, and they won on their own. So to me, encouraging people to run is what we got to do, and when they run, some of them get the message out there, push our agenda forward. We're legalizing marijuana, legalizing gay marriage. I hope we get to cut taxes one day, cut spending. We need to do that. I think some of our efforts have helped prevent we may have prevented an earlier war in Syria because we're out there talking about it. The National Party, we try and count up all the candidates nationwide. I think there's just over 700. We're still checking our list and making sure it's right, but it looks like there's going to be over 700 candidates. I'm very excited about that. I think that's the most important thing things can do. Every candidate's a hero, every volunteer is a libertarian hero to me. It's a cop-out to say everyone's a hero, but I'm going to name 2 LP Illinois people just so, because I said I'd talk about today's Libertarian heroes, and there's people like this everywhere. I've already talked about Lex Green. We know the great things he's done. I'm just going to point out Julie Fox, running for controller. Libertarians like her, she's running for the third time, who keep it going. She stepped up when someone needed her to run. She's done it time and time again. That's who's making the Libertarian Party successful. We have too many instances where things start shutting down in a state, and it's those activists who stick with it, keep it going, who are there to recruit the new folks. I want to quickly tell you about a book I wrote. It's called Introduction to the Libertarian Party. It talks about a lot of what I discussed today and presented today. It has a lot more in it about how to get active, ideas on how to get active. I'd like you to consider buying a copy today for $20. I'll sign it if you buy it today. And the thing with this book is, I brought these, I'm donating them all to the Libertarian Party of Illinois. So when you contribute $20 for this book, that $20 will go to the LP Illinois to help defray the cost of this convention. So I'm not taking any of the money home with me.